Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Soul Talk. And I am so honoured and privileged to be bringing to you this series of Meet the Author, where you get a little insight into the wonderful women who are the co-authors in the book Voices of Hope, which has been launched on November the 23rd at an amazing venue, the Hotel Beaumont in Windsor. And this is an open event, and we are looking for more and more people. Come and see and meet all the co-authors and be inspired, and there's surprises in store too. So anyway, let's get down to having the chat. And today I've got a beautiful young woman called Charlotte Fitzgerald, and she is one of our co-authors. Hi, Charlotte.
Hi, Brenda. Lovely to be here.
Oh, I'm so thrilled. What's a great thing about being the anthologist and making connections and developing relationships? You see the growth even from the point of, oh yeah, I want to tell my story, to now. You know, when we're getting to that point of launching, the growth is remarkable. And Charlotte, I have seen huge leaps and bounds in your confidence and your growth and understanding who you are. So the Voices of Hope is all about our voice, and for me, our voice equals our truth. And you know, we have adversity, and we don't allow it to define us. Certainly for you, you are taking the learning and the lessons and using that to with your courage to shape the future. So tell us how it's been for you finding your voice and voicing that truth as part of this journey.
So for me, it's been quite a journey, to be honest. Even down to when I read my story back, it's actually kind of highlighted to me how far I've actually come. Because I think a lot of the time we don't really acknowledge how far we've come, and we kind of just live in that moment. And sometimes we can be quite hard on where we are as a person. But when you actually see that in words and you read it back and see how far you've actually come on that journey, it's really quite enlightening. So yeah, I think for me it's definitely been a journey that wasn't expected at first, but I've embraced it, and I've enjoyed it. And I think it's helped me as well put some closure on some of the issues as well that were previous as well, because I've highlighted them and I've read them over and over again. I've put it onto paper. And I think a lot of the time people say to you to put stuff on paper and get it out of your head. And that's something I've never done. So I think that's definitely helped me to highlight that as well.
Absolutely. And we'll talk more about that shortly. But what I want to know is, why did you say yes to being a co-author in Voices of Hope?
I think for me it was more because it was actually recommended to me to be a co-author, because I had actually had a conversation with one of the authors who we were friends, and obviously I'd spoken to her a little bit about what I'd been through, and she actually recommended me for it. And to be honest, like I said, looking back and seeing what I've overcome and all the obstacles I've had to deal with, that I would like to kind of project that message onto other people so that they can see that there is hope on the other side, of your troubles. Because I think when you're in the midst of it there and then, you don't see any way out. But once you've overcome it and you see that other people have been there, done it, and got to the other side of it, then I think it's really it's like I said, it gives you that hope that you can do the same for yourself as well. So yeah, I took on the challenge. It was a risk for me because, again, it's something completely new that I've never ever done before. But I saw an opportunity and just went for it, really.
And already we're seeing the traits of someone who wants to be an entrepreneur, someone who's discovers they've got a purpose, and then the growth that's needed to who do you need to become in order to be the person that you were born to be. And so you've highlighted that you've got to step out of your comfort zone and do things that you're not used to. You've highlighted making a choice, even although that might scare you. It's then becoming conscious of those lessons and those traits that you need to be who it is that you want to be in as a woman in business and in service to others. So we've highlighted a couple of things that you've learned. Is there anything else that you would like to let people know, that when you're going through the darkness, what else do you learn? Or what have you learned personally?
So what I've learned is personal development is key. How you talk to yourself as well. Because I was actually having a conversation with someone earlier that if it wasn't for my health and wellness business, I never would have been, personal development would have never been highlighted to me. And I honestly feel that if that wasn't highlighted to me, then I probably would potentially be in the same situation. Because it wasn't until I started to grow, I started to monitor my self-talk, and started to be grateful for the stuff that I had already and that I'd overcome, that things started to change for me. So yeah.
So personal development, and that is absolutely huge, you know. So we've highlighted 3 things: getting outside your comfort zone, getting on a path of personal development, and saying yes and making choices even when they scare you. And making choices is part of the development of becoming a leader and emotional intelligence. And it's absolutely key to personal development. It's one of the most important parts. But of course, I like to be holistic, because it's not just one thing, it's everything. So it's about getting it all in alignment, fusing it. I don't want to say balance so much. But anyway, listen, I've got a question for you. What's your favourite colour?
Oh, that's a tough one. At the moment, it's purple. Purple is my favourite colour.
Yes.
It hasn't always been, but purple is my favourite colour and has been for quite some time now.
Yeah, that's lovely. So, so as I said at the start, all the co-authors are women in business. That might be they're just at the start of their business. They've realised they want to have a business. They might be in business but have got a bit lost in it, and they're looking for more direction. A lot of women are consciously telling their story because they know the power of being an author. Being a published author is quite a different, and being a what I call a properly published authors compared to self-publishing. So this is not self-publishing at all. So let's hear a wee bit about where your business is at now. And I do have a question later for you to look further afield, but what is your business now? What are you doing just now to serve other women?
So at the moment, my business, so it's in the health and wellness sector. So I'm a Pilates instructor and I also have a health and wellness business as well. But I have always had this passion to try and bring them both together. And through my challenges have basically been attracted more to helping mums. So obviously I teach postnatal Pilates as well. But me being a mum and having to go through struggles of managing lifestyle, children, the self-talk, weight loss, all that sort of stuff. So that's my thing. So I basically want to empower women to see that they can look and feel great and they can overcome obstacles in life and still have a life after that, basically.
And that's highly commendable, Charlotte, because when you have experienced something like you've experienced, and we're not going to talk about your story because that's for people to buy in the book, but it's the it's knowing where you're going with that adversity, and the fact that you're a young mum yourself. So when you have experienced the adversity and you've worked through it, that makes you an absolute go-to person, because you've shown, here's where I've been, here's some of the things that I've done. You obviously learn more about it, and you learn how to question, you learn new skills and techniques that you can then show to others Well, if you do things like ABC, XYZ, then you too can get out. And of course, there's hope, because here's where I was 4 years ago, and here's where I am today, and guess where I'm going in the next 5 years. You know, so people want to know that, because you've got to resonate. It's you know, I'm an academic, and it's one thing learning things out of a book, and I can learn anything out of a book, and so can anybody. But actually, when you've experienced things, that gives you a level of understanding, and we're getting into empathy, that can only come if you've walked a mile in those shoes. It's not to say you can't be sympathetic and you can't be understanding. Of course you can, you know, but when you've actually experienced the depth of the despair and the darkness, there's something in that that's got a greater value than somebody that's not, you know. So I do think you're in a very strong and powerful place to do that. So what would you say to others then about having adversity and getting out of it? What's your message to them?
I think the key is obviously highlighting, first of all, what the issues are, and actually being really, really honest with yourself. Because I think it's very, very easy to bury your head and not acknowledge that you are potentially responsible for some of that issue and the decisions that you have made to put yourself in that environment. And I think that's something that I really struggled with for a really, really long time. And it's very easy to kind of pass the blame, basically, to anybody, because some people are like that, and I was like that, to be honest. I would blame everybody and anything possible except myself. And I think, yeah, the key is to acknowledge, you know, your the part that you play in that, and then seeing what tools you need and what solutions there are for you to overcome that. You know, because as you'll see in my story, I've been through quite a lot and overcome quite a lot in the last 4 years. And you know, I've literally been, like you said, in the darkness, and I have experienced it, and I had to learn about courage, and that was something that I really wasn't aware of, and I had to learn it. That's not something that, you know, you just have. And I had to be courageous, and I had to really think about what I wanted from my life, and be honest with myself that the way I was feeling and the way I was acting wasn't reflective in the way that my life was at that point. So yeah, I think that's definitely key. And like I mentioned already about, you know, really focusing on your gratitude and your self-talk, and just kind of pushing yourself in that direction to where you want to be, and being honest with yourself. Again, you know, honesty is really, really key. Because if you can't be honest with yourself, who can you be honest with? Do you know what I mean? And then you are, yeah, it's a tough journey if you're constantly lying to yourself and just kind of like sugarcoating everything, even to yourself. Especially if you're a mum as well, because, you know, your children kind of feed off of that. And I've had to, you know, live and breathe that as well, and see how my reaction to certain situations and how I either did or didn't deal with them have affected them directly. And I've also seen, since I've come out of it, how they've changed as well. So I've literally watched the transition through myself and through them. And yeah, I think that's definitely key.
And I
hope
think
that answers it.
and I think if you're working with mums, what you've just said there is so powerful. It's when you change, your relationships change. First of all, you change your own relationship with yourself, then that has a ripple effect, and you know, the people that you live closest to, so like your children, will absolutely do it, you know. Because what's been coming up a lot recently is like, children don't learn by what you say to them, they learn by watching, they observe, they watch. So you might say one thing and your behaviour's another. So they're not going to listen to your words, they're just going to ignore that. But they will copy the behaviour. You know, so if I think back to you might relate to something like this, but if I think back to being a child, my parents both smoked. So as I grew up, I thought, I wonder what it's like to smoke, because my mum and dad smoke. Because your mum and dad are like your heroes. So of course, for a few years as a teenager, I smoked, but I quickly realised it was not good for your health. I hated it, the smell. So a lot of reasons, and after a few years through those teenage years, I just went, yeah, it's not for me, you know.
Yeah,
Of
yeah.
course, you have the peer pressure and that. But you're right. So there's all these things, and that's really powerful. And I know as you develop and grow, you're going to create some amazing business that will really help other young mums or mums, what age you are, go through that journey, and it be less onerous for them, you know.
Yeah.
So tell me something, Chinese or Indian?
Food? You're
Yes.
talking about food? That's a really tough call. Ooh, I don't know. I can't choose. I love them both. Chinese if it was takeaway. Indian if I'm cooking it.
Okay, there, yeah. So you gave us an
I
answer.
gave you a broader answer.
See, I'm kind, you know. I'm not sticking you down to one thing. Now, listen, you're going to be a published author.
I know.
How
Exciting.
does that feel, and how do you see that helping you and your business?
I see it as being really, really surreal. And I think as the weeks are starting to count down, it's getting more and more real. And even people are asking me questions about it, and they're starting to ask me when the book is being released, how is it going? You know, because obviously I've been talking about it in bits, and that for me is just like, because for ages I was like, yeah, I've written the chapter, and then, you know, there was that area where it was all going through all the transition, and then now suddenly it's on the other side of it, and you're just like, oh gosh, that's actually happening. Like, this is, people are actually going to know my story. But like I said, you know, I want to empower people through my story, you know, and show people that there is a way out, and you're not stuck in that situation, that you're stuck in, no matter what your circumstances are. There is a way to get out of it.
So how do you see the book helping you grow in your business?
I think probably, I'm not sure if it's the right word, but would it be integrity? Would it show that I've come from a place and I'm moving forward? I'm not sure if that's the right word or not.
How's being an author going to grow your business? And I know we're doing a lot of work on this, so you might not be able to see that answer just now, but how do you think being an author is going to grow your business?
I think it will get my story out to more people. I can connect with more people. My network will grow. And then I can be an influencer for other people, basically.
Yes. So some of the things some of the reasons why people want to write their book, a lot of it is what we've said already, but really once you are a published author, that raises your profile straight away. Oh, you're an author, and you're an author in what, you know, so people see you differently. And once you start to see where you're becoming the expert in, and we know this is only the start of your writing, this is the start of your authorship, because you then, as you develop, will create your own book that will show your philosophy, and that's when you're seen as the go-to expert. But people already see you as an expert, as a young mum who's come through things that other mums are going through, so they'll think, oh my god, she's done it, I need to speak to her. Oh, where can I, you know? And in the book, that's the bit that I've just finished, in the book is putting all your details in it, you see. So, and then of course it opens doors to opportunities, speaking engagements, workshops, getting people into your workshops, so it really grows your business. But so there's lots to come, and as you know, we're learning them week by week as being part of the journey with me. So that's really amazing. And so what I say is stories are a hit. They heal, they inspire, and they transform not only your own life, which you've alluded to, because you've now learned the power of writing things down. So that involves like journaling, and also we'll talk about this in a minute. We'll come on to, I've got something I want to ask you in a minute. So therefore, the they're a hit with you and they're a hit with the reader. And if you're a speaker, they're a hit with your audience, because they'll heal something in them, they'll inspire them maybe to take action. And when they take action, action creates transformation and change. So nothing will change unless you take action. So that's why the power of story is crucial. And we've been telling stories since time immemorial, since time began. So stories are a surefire way of helping you grow your business. But Charlotte, you're doing something else. So there's writing, and you started it last night, and that's vlogging. So
Yeah.
tell us a bit about what you're doing there.
So what I'm basically doing is kind of highlighting parts of my story and part of my journey, and seeing how I can basically inspire people, and just kind of having a little bit of knowledge backed with it as well, because in regards, like, so funnily enough, it was quite weird because how I did it. So I got the subject that I wanted to do, and then I knew people who had been through that. So then I made separate phone calls and asked them how they dealt with that situation, how they got out of it, how they felt in that moment, and then used that as real evidence basically in my video, in my subject, and also referenced it back to myself as well. So I felt quite proud of myself, the way that I actually did it the right way. So rather than just taking a subject and just going with it, I actually referenced real people, and their situation in it. So yeah, it was quite exciting. I have done some video before, but it's been kind of like, obviously they've been good subjects and different stuff, but it's not been as structured.
Good.
So it's nice now that I've got a bit of...
Yeah, and that's exactly right, because the 3 S's of business is structure, systems, and strategy. And so in my experience, you know, particularly women are so like, they want to give. They're over givers, you know. As women, we're over givers. I definitely am a huge over giver, and but really, when you want to be successful, you in business, you have to know the structure. And when you've got structure, it increases your confidence. You've got more belief in it. And like you say, having a shape to what you're doing keeps you focused, keeps it cohesive, and you're getting the point to the people, because there's nothing worse than just fluffing and keeping going on, which happens a lot in videos. So tell me something, are you a goddess or a princess?
Goddess.
I
actually feel insulted if someone calls me a princess. I'm like, no, I'm the queen of my castle, thank you.
Well, I could have asked you, are you a queen or an empress? So either or. So I think we're a queen anyway. So I'm super excited for you and your future, and I've seen the growth and the strength that's coming with the belief and the confidence that's now shaping within you. And you've given us a lot of evidence of how that is, and how you're confident in raising your voice. So talking about the power of women and ready to rise and roar, as a co-author, we've got the launch on November the 23rd. So what are you looking forward to about the launch?
I'm just looking forward to the whole day and the whole experience, because it's a new experience. One of my friends is coming with me as well, so I'm super excited about that. And I'm excited to see, because you said there's some surprises, and also the speakers, and to meet all the other co-authors as well. You know, because we've all kind of been dealing on this journey together, but separately. So it would be nice to kind of see everybody, and yeah, just I don't know. I think it's one of those things, like I said, because it's been in process. So it would be amazing to get to that final part and see it all just kind of expand. And yeah. So I'm really excited.
So, and as a co-author, so when people work with me in the writing aspect, we have Voices of Change, where all the co-authors are, so people can interact there. But also, we've got something here in London, and we can see already that any of the co-authors who are in the London area are coming along to Heels, so you're beginning to get to know each other. And even some of the co-authors from Voices of Courage, which was the previous book. So it's just a wonderful family and friendships and what's happening, and there'll be great opportunities for doing business together, with each other and for each other. And that's the whole thing for me. It's about bringing women together, elevating them, put them in the spotlight, and just watch them grow. You know, it's like you plant the seeds and you nurture, and then you see this beautiful blossom before your very eyes. So it's a very a humble and privileged position that I find myself in, and I want to thank you publicly for trusting me, for saying yes and being patient, because as you can see, when you're dealing with a lot of women over 5 continents, it just doesn't happen in a month, does it?
No, no.
And as we build momentum, you think you've got everything in hand, and then you realize there's a lot more to it. But it's a great journey, and as I say, it's the connections, the friendships, it's a forever thing for me, all the co-authors who come on this journey. So let's just, before we wrap up, let's just ask you a few more of the questions I've got here. So let me think. A beach holiday or a cruise?
Oh, you're killing me with this. Because I love being by the water, so no, it would be a beach. Okay. I've never been on a cruise before. I would like to, but I do like beach holidays as well.
Watch this space. I was away somewhere yesterday, so just watch this space for what's coming next. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang or Willy Wonka?
Probably Willy Wonka.
Okay. And roses or lilies?
Lilies, because my daughter is a lily.
Oh, how wonderful is that?
My daughter is a lily, so lilies are my favorite, and then my mum's favorite flower as well.
Ah, there we go. So, what book has had an impact on you on your journey so far?
What's it called? I think it's How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Okay, a very good book. I've got it myself behind my screen here.
It is a very good book. Funnily enough, it was recommended to me by my area manager when I was a store manager in retail. Because I wasn't my people skills were not great in regards to communicating with people. And he said, you need to change your approach, read this book. And I must say that if I ever feel that I'm getting a little bit too power happy, or I'm finding that my approach with people is not great, I always turn back to that book and reread it and refresh my mind, because it just allows you to kind of look at your approach differently with people. And also that a lot of people are kind of thinking of themselves first. So then if you start with them, then obviously they're more likely to listen to you. Whereas if you're all me, they're not going to listen to you.
No.
So yeah, I think it definitely did change my approach with my people skills, that's for sure.
And I definitely think that's definitely coming from an emotional intelligence point of view, that book. But you've already touched on something that's even more powerful than that, and that is always stepping into gratitude. When you step into gratitude and appreciation, and you ground yourself by being in nature, all that power happy stuff, when we get in our ego, when we get in our mind, we just release that and get back into our heart and soul. Because when you come from a place of heart and soul in service for others, you can never be egotistical, you can never get into power happy. And and this journey is relatively a new journey for you, but already you're such a fast learner, that is for sure. And I can see that already. You wouldn't, I know you quite well now, and I would never have thought you didn't have people skills, because your people skills are amazing, and you attract people to you so easily.
It's all been learned though. It's learned behavior. Trust me, it wasn't great. I used to be quite socially anxious, so it's all learned. It's all I have. But again, it's all a process, isn't it? You're all growing. And it's also the people that you surround and their energy as well. So I feed off of that. So if the energy is negative, then I'm more than likely to be very closed off. Whereas if I feel at peace and it's positive energy, then I'm happy to embrace anybody. But the minute someone's negative, I literally will just turn away from them, and I won't even embrace them at all.
That's
just
great.
the way it is.
That's great learning. But what happens, Charlotte, over time is you will embody all that new learning. That will become who you are. It'll become part of you, because who we are now is not who we're going to be in a year's time, in 3 years' time. I think I did something the other day talking about one of my videos, talking about who Brenda Dempsey was in January and who's Brenda today. And we're only 9 months. We're talking about like 9 months. And my goodness, I'm quite a different woman.
Yeah.
You know, so we're always evolving, we're always growing, we never get to the destination. But you have certainly an example of showing people how you can take being a victim and turn it into being the victor, and taking up that sword or that beacon of light, and shining it for others so that they too can see you and come and learn from you and be inspired by you. And you're championing that now in this world, in the lives that you're creating for you and your children. And I want to just say thank you so much, and I really and truly appreciate you and our friendship, and I wish you every success for the future, Charlotte, because I know it's very, very bright. So thank you very much. So just
thank you as well.
Before you go, what one message would you like to give to anybody watching?
No matter what you're going through at the moment, stay strong, put yourself first, and just go for it. Just go for it. And that's come from the core, that is. I didn't even think about that.
Yes. And that's how you rock. And that's how you rock and roll from the core.
Just go for it.
Okay, Charlotte. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Take care.